Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channels and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes to continue hustling. This episode is brought to you by Excite Medical and the DRX 9000, Peach State Payments, Recover, Chiro HD, Softwave, Cool Blue BA, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Script AI, Chiro Moguls, The Chiro Speaking Company, Pure Chiro Notes, 5-Star Forge, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, and the IFCO. You can benefit from our full list of sponsors by visiting the sponsor page at chirohustle.com/sponsors. Links in the description. Now, let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 683 of the Chiro Hustle Podcast. I'm your producer, Luke Millette, and here's your host, James Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Gary Barnes. And if you want to hear about how to leverage yourself as a professional speaker, stay tuned for the full episode. Welcome back. This is another episode of the Chiro Hustle Podcast. Today I have Gary Barnes on with me. This is the 683rd episode of the show. I'm very thankful to have him on with me today. We're going to talk about some really cool topics, one being chiropractic, entrepreneurship, working with the media. We're going to discuss how to get chiropractic more frequently onto mainstream media outlets. He's a coach. Check out the label underneath his name. www.garybarnesinternational.com is his website. Check him out. Professional speaker. We're going to talk about how to get more professional speaking gigs for chiropractors, sales and chiropractic. He's into adventure, and he has some adversity he's overcome. We'll close out with that story. But before we jump into Gary's interview today, I want to share with you our big why. Why do we do what we do over here at Chiro Hustle? Well, first things first is freedom of speech. I think that that's a centerpiece of medical freedom and family health freedom. I think that we have to have freedom of speech, and we have to have body autonomy to make decisions on what we want to do for ourselves and our families. So if you have any needs that you have questions about, what do I do for my health? What do I do for my family's health? Find a neighborhood chiropractor, go there, go and talk to them. They'll be happy to take care of you. When it comes to the profession, we are very philosophically standardized. We believe in protecting the sacred trust. If you don't know what that is, go and check out the show notes and read BJ Palmer's last written words. You're going to learn more about chiropractic than you ever did before, I guarantee you. And we do support subluxation-based chiropractic. I know I shouldn't have to say these things, but they're taking the vernacular out of the school and they're changing the languaging as we stand here today having this conversation. So if you know a chiropractor or a chiropractic student, please share the show with them so they can get philosophy into their life about this beautiful profession of chiropractic. We also believe in the woo-woo side of this profession. We believe that when man or woman, the physical gets adjusted, it connects them to man or woman, the spiritual. And with that, that creates educated intelligence. So that is our introduction for episode 683. Gary, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Jim. It's a real pleasure.
Yeah, and I know Dr. Jim Weathers connected us. So thank you, Doc, for lining Gary and I up for this interview. Chiropractic, how does that fit into your life? I know that before we started, you said your son is a chiropractor, and tell me that story.
Well, my son had wanted to follow my footsteps. I had originally owned one of the largest financial planning firms, and he was a square peg in a round hole. His wife at the time went to Palmer and became a chiropractor, and then he decided to do the same thing. And so we've been around the chiropractic world a very long time, and I utilize it. With Doc, you mentioned, I have been with Doc, I have been with my son, and now I'm with a third chiropractor as well.
Yeah, I think it's really important for people to understand the utilization. People probably don't know this, that might be watching this interview with us today, but only between 7 and 10% of the U.S. population actually gets regular chiropractic care. So I say we have 90 to 93% of people that need to get this big idea and this message. So I appreciate you sharing your story with us today.
Well, you're welcome. I think a lot of people are afraid of chiropractic sometimes because they think once they start, they will never be able to stop. And my analogy is, if you go to the gym, you don't ever stop. You just keep going back and getting stronger and getting more benefit from what you're doing.
Yeah, it's like drinking water or going to the dentist. Why would you stop doing those things?
It's a problem.
They're just fundamentally important for us to have good health, right? So let's talk about entrepreneurship. Um, I know it's a big part of your life, and then coaching also. Talk to us about entrepreneurship and how it's helped you advance to where you are.
Well, the concept of entrepreneurship is just the ability to share what we're really good at, the technique, the philosophy, the process, whatever that may be. It could be a widget. And so the really what entrepreneurship means to me is that ability to be on my own, to develop the strategies and the concepts in the way that it relates to my personality. And then I look for those individuals that relate to that personality to deliver the benefit. And so the challenge of entrepreneurship is that many times we're on our own. We feel very segregated and we think we're the only ones that are dealing with a particular challenge or stress. And that's why, having a program like yours is so beneficial, is it really brings the community together.
So one of the things that I want to touch on is books. You said you've written some books.
Yeah, I am a reluctant author. I'm credited now with 10 books, and I'm writing a 11th. I get what I call a nudge, a download a number of months ago. I was sitting here and it said, write another book. And I went, no, I'm done with that. It's not something I enjoy. It's actually mentally painful for me to do it. And it came to me 4 days in a row. On the fifth day, it gave me the title. And I went, okay, I'm going to go with it. You're talking about a little bit of the woo woo. And so the book title is called Overcoming You, and it is coming out in the first quarter of next year. But one of the things that I didn't realize is I had been an international speaker, I had been an international coach for a number of years. But when I wrote a book, I became an instant celebrity. And I didn't understand it because it was like I wrote it, I published it, I sold it. I go, what makes it so special? But in our society, it gives another level of credibility. And so that is something that I really highly recommend to any business owner, whether it be a plumber, a chiropractor, a doctor, a psychiatrist, is really to write that book. And it's the book about how you got to where you are. Why are you doing what you're doing? And so there's a formula that I created a number of years ago called So What to So That. And it's the so that people attach to, not the so what. So writing a book is writing a book. But what is that connection to your perfect client?
Yeah, I like that a lot. And I think that everybody has a story. And that's really what makes this program work so well, is because everybody has something to say. You just ask them a few questions, and next thing you know, you have another episode complete.
I think that's also the detriment of society, what we've been told, that we don't matter. Is stay in your lane, be quiet. I say when people have children, the first thing they want them to do is walk and talk. And as soon as they do, they say, shut up and sit down. And our society has reinforced that in school and business. And really, if we're not seen, nobody knows that we're there, we can't help them.
Yeah, I think that that's really great. In chiropractic, we say first you crawl, then you walk, then you run. And I think that the developmental aspects of it is you want the thing that you have to develop. You want it to start crawling, then you want to start talking, then you want to start walking, and then you're like, I want to control you now.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, you're okay as long as you agree with me. That is not my world.
So I also noticed that you had some experience working with media outlets.
Media is one of those essential things, but what we have to understand about media is that we are the what I call the bait for them to draw in their audience that they're wanting for their advertisers, for their marketing of the programs themselves. And so what we are doing is becoming, I ask clients all the time, are they a celebrity? And most of the time they say no, but here's my definition. how am I different from, not better than? So what is it that makes me unique? And when we are unique, like my first book is something we'll talk about at the end of the show today, but it's called How a Beaver Saved My Life. And just in the title, it gives a curiosity and people are drawn to that. It's my number one talk title that people ask for. But what we're doing is being able to provide content and process that is meeting the need of the people at that moment, at that time, whatever it be, radio, TV. I've done all the major networks. I've done PBS twice. TEDx called me to do TEDx. But the thing about media, and we'll probably talk a little bit about speaking, is that it's not about us. If we take us out of the agenda, then we're there to serve and connect with an audience that they want connection to. And so when we do that and we just offer ourselves up to that and be willing to showcase what we do and risk someone not liking us, then we'll be, that much further along. And media will love you because most times you don't want to be that guest that is a prima donna, that it's all about them and they're selling their wares or whatever it is. But when you go in and truly go in with the attitude of serving, you will be asked back. That's why I did 2 shows on PBS. 5 years later, they called me and they go, "Would you come back?" And so, but it also was connected to the book. When interviews in media, a lot of times they will put their arms around an author much faster than they will someone that just in a community of the occupation or any kind of technique, and it will give that long lasting relationship as well.
Yeah, this opens up a lot of traction for me and a lot of curiosity. I know that there's some frameworks I want to follow and I don't want to forget anything, but I'm really curious. I know that people have like an aversion from public speaking and they have an aversion of like, I think it's the same as like maybe jumping out of an airplane or swimming with sharks. Like people are just afraid of public speaking. How do you give people confidence to be able to break through that?
Part of it is, when I did my TEDx, the gentleman that ran that, it was at, we were in front of about 10,000 seats. It was at a large auditorium. He said, "How do you get the butterflies to go away?" I go, "Well, you don't. You get them to fly in formation." I have given over 1,000 talks, and I'm nervous every time before I go on, but it's not because of not knowing what I'm going to say or the message that I'm wanting to give. It's about wanting to be able to support and to touch the lives of those that are in the audience, whether it be on a broadcast or in person. Because the most valuable thing that I feel that people have in their lives there is time, and it can never come back. So once we understand that nerves are normal, I had a speaker at one of my events. He told me he never gets nervous anymore. He does a lot of TV and everything. And as I'm introducing him, he's running up and down in the back of the room and jumping. And I go, "You're not nervous. I can tell." And so it's normal. And when we have the message that we can overcome that, but normally what happens is that once you hit the stage, it all goes away. Now, here's a caveat. If you're speaking about something that is not part of your core message, you will be nervous. You will be thinking instead of listening. Speaking has more to do with listening than speaking because you're interacting and sharing with the audience. You're listening for who they are. So we're having a conversation with, not talking at. And so once you have that down to where you're going to make a mistake, you're going to flub up. I mean, I can tell you all kinds of stories of, things that have happened to me, but it makes you, endeared to the people because you're real. You want to be the same on stage as off, no matter what it is.
You've taken me on so many different directions, but I guess I have to come back to chiropractic. If we wanted to get more chiropractors onto mainstream outlets, what would your advice be for that?
To translate from the so what, from the chiropractic to the benefit. That's the so that. So, like personally, right now, I am seeing the third chiropractor because I've been shown to have 3 compressed discs in my back. So, I'm doing decompression therapy. He didn't ever talk to me about the process. He talked to me about the results. What it is that we're striving for. In any profession, we can't do a quote guarantee. but we can give a probability. And so when we have someone that is really to the point of the pain has risen to the level of change, because people don't like change. They will adapt. They say, well, it's just my lot in life. But when we showcase what it is that the benefit can produce, now those people are going to be seeking that solution out. So instead of talking about the technique and the strategy around it, focusing on the that walk away benefit of the, there is a concept of pain and pleasure. If the pleasure on the other side of the pain is big enough, you will go through the pain to get there. If it's not, you will back off going through that pain, and it will feel momentarily pleasurable because it's you're not going through the stress of the change itself. And so really identifying what is it that they're providing for their clients, what is their specialty, what is it that I call it the V8 moment, the old commercial, the tomato juice. I could have had a V8. And when people start seeing that, they're going to go, where have you been all my life?
And they say that a lot. I talk to many chiropractors throughout my week, and a lot of them on interviews like this. And one of the things that they'll tell me is, I had a patient come in and they were seeing me and they said, why didn't anybody else tell me this until now? So I get that story a lot. But I'm going to go back to what you were mentioning and how you frame that conversation of taking people from pleasure to pain, or from pain to pleasure. The big takeaway I have there is we call it future pacing. We create a scenario where, like you were saying off camera, your ideal scene is not to have a cane in the future, and you can walk with confidence. So that's future pacing you into, like, okay, so Gary, this is going to take you X amount of visits over this much time, and this is the cost of you to do business with us, but we're going to care about you.
So you used a word that I have eliminated. It's not a cost, it's an investment.
Sure.
When we use the word investment, now we're expecting a return on that investment. If we go cost, we see it as an expense and it just goes away.
Well, I mean, there is an exchange of value when it comes to getting, somebody to take care of you and to make you better. So I know semantics do matter. So we'll call it a value exchange moving forward. And you being the coach, let's talk about your coaching. And I know that's a big part of your life. And you love taking people and helping them develop.
Over my careers, people have wanted me, they said, and there is a concept of riches in the niches that you just drive deep. And it never really fit for me. So what I have done, my niche is in pain points, in working with organizations, individuals, professionals that are really frustrated, they're challenged with the return on their investment of time, energy, and money in their business. And so what I do is really customize and tailor a program with each individual or organization to where we establish where they want to go. And then the little things that they can do to get big results. There is a concept. My first mentor was Jim Rohn, and I believe he's the one that coined this, is that small hinges swings big doors. And so it's not wholesale changes, it's doing those little adjustments that you're going to be able to get bigger results. But what it is that I do is really, it's about looking at what it is that a person wants to achieve, what are the things that they have done, and then implement a blueprint or a roadmap in order to systematically get there. And so everyone is a little bit different. And that's why I have startups to manufacturing firms. I'm international, which I really love because you get into the personalities of the different cultures. But it is totally customized.
And some of the clients you have are chiropractors. How have you helped them develop their voices and confidence and finding their blueprints?
It's really having permission to be seen, having a voice, getting out of the comfort zone of, one of the couple of areas that I find that people in the negative beliefs or they don't deserve, and they're not worthy. So it's again going back to, we're told to shut up, sit down, and stay in your lane instead of saying, this is who I am. And people will say that it's egotistical, but it isn't. It's really being of service. And when we have people that, I'm so proud of Doc. He has come to actually my speaker boot camp where we train people on speaking and also how to be in the business of speaking. And what he has told me is that I have ruined him to go to other speakers, listen to other speakers now, because he knows the way that he now does it, that is giving more impact. And so it really is giving yourself permission to be out there and be exposed. People will shoot at you, and that's okay. If our mission is big enough, if our why is big enough to serve, then we're willing to take on the naysayers.
So professional speaking, how do we develop that chiropractic angle, and how do we get more chiropractors onto more stages, not just in the chiropractic silos that I was talking to you about earlier, but how do we get them to break out of chiropractic to have an impact on the masses?
This is where we go back to the pain points. What is the pain point that you solve? And you create your talk around that. With anyone, we could talk about the technique, the modality, the process, and all the tools and tricks that we use. Nobody cares. They care about the result. And coming up to what are they able to do? What is that person? I'm a baby boomer. And so most baby boomers that I know, we still jump off tall buildings and go upside down in airplanes and do all kinds of weird stuff. And so anytime that we lose that ability, like right now, take my situation with the walking. I'm walking with a cane. It's extremely painful. We're working on the solution. But one of my biggest pleasures is being on stage, is being with people. And the last two major events that I produced, I had to sit most of the time on stage. And that's not me. I'm down in the audience. I'm interacting with the audience. And so I don't want to stay there. I want to go back to where I was so that I can do what I do. And when you attach to that, so I'm not going to the chiropractor with the decompression for the decompression to solve the problem. I'm doing it to be able to walk on stage and do the activities that I truly love doing.
I love that so much, because there is something about vitality that keeps us going. And there is something about adaptability that gets us to shift. And when we know that there are people out there that can be our servants and guide us through that process, we become the greatest version of ourselves ever. And that's the secret. And you made me think about a really good title for a chiropractor out there, if they wanted to break into the speaking world, is call it How I Saved a Life. And focusing on one person that you made a profound impact on their life. And you talked about how you gave their life back to them and how you made the greatest impact in that person's future. And that's reverse engineering what you just said. If you find that one thing that matters to the audience more than anything else, and you present that and produce that for them, they're going to line up around the block to come see you.
Right. And so titles are so important, whether it be on a book or in a talk, because the audience will gravitate to the curiosity of the title. I just got rehired to do another talk for an organization called Take a Flying Leap. And so the picture is I trapezed, and I don't look like a guy that should be on a trapeze, but here I'm on a trapeze, and they wanted that talk again. And so when we do that, then that curiosity will bring us with the opportunity to share, not sell, but to share the message for the application. If they want something additional from that, then the right people will raise their hands.
You made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is brought to you by Excite Medical and the DRX 9000, Peach State Payments, Recover, Chiro HD, Softwave, Cool Blue BA, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Script AI, Chiro Moguls, the Chiro Speaking Company, Pure Chiro Notes, 5-Star Forge, Kytronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, and the IFCO. You can benefit from our full list of sponsors by visiting the sponsor page at chirohustle.com/sponsors. Links in the description. Now, let's hustle. Yeah, I think that's the most beautiful thing about conveying the message is getting the audience to respond. I've been talking to a lot of my friends lately, and I've been in this profession now for 16 years. And I just sit there and I'm like, the first seminar I went to is 12 years ago. And I still remember watching those speakers on stage. Like I still vividly remember like why I do what I do today is because I watched somebody on stage and they simply said like 100 times during their talk, you got to go tell the story. You got to go tell the story. You have to tell the story. And I was like, well, I guess that's my my cue. I'm going to start telling the story. But I think that we learn something from these people because they're devoted, like you were saying off camera, you got to touch one life. Like Dr. Joe Borio, the guy that said that talk that I went to, he had no idea that he was going to make an impact on me. And I would go through to do what I'm doing today based on the message and the intensity he delivered on.
And you hit on something that's really important is that to be a professional speaker, to be an effective speaker, it's about being an effective storyteller. The reality is we forget facts, we remember stories. And so as an author, as a speaker, as a coach, people will forget my name, but they'll remember elements of my story. And so I have URLs that point to Gary Barnes International, but the Beaver guy, the No Try guy, all the different stories that I tell, I also have those URLs to point back to making it easy for people to find me.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. So let's talk about sales a little bit. I know that sometimes people have like strange ideas about being salespeople, but I think I've heard it doesn't matter what the person is, if they're a baby or if they're an animal, they will sell you if they're hungry. They'll let you know through whatever means they need to let you know that they need assistance. So selling isn't just monetarily, it's getting attention.
Right. Well, part of it is I've eliminated the word sell out of my vocabulary and out of my trainings. It's really about sharing. If we think about being a brick and mortar store, we turn the lights on, put the open sign, and then we showcase what's on the inside. And when we do that, a certain number of people will come into that arena. And so when we're truly selling and showcasing what it is that it is a benefit for them to at least be curious to have a conversation. And when people understand that it's not about closing a sale, the formula that I teach is to be seen. If you're the best kept secret, nobody cares. The second one is to be safe, to where when people really understand you're there to serve them without an agenda to close them, you will become what I call a people magnet. They will want more. They will close themselves. And then the third thing is to be relevant. And the relevant is not just something, do they have this need, but do they also now, has the pain risen to the level of desiring it? Are they looking for it? And so when we have those three things, there's an organic conversion that happens. And then when somebody is, say you're solving a pain point for someone, they're going to tell their friends, oh, you need to go do this. This person over here, I didn't think it was even possible to do what I'm doing now, but look at me now. So there is an organic connection doing that in a way of sharing, not selling.
Well, that whole framework there in chiropractic, we say, how do you get people to stay, pay, and refer? We simplify some of these things. And I believe that sharing that secret has been something that I learned from a long time ago is you got to tell people what you do, why you do it, who it's for. And then you have to actually have a conversation with them and let them know, hey, by the way, after you come in for your 7th visit, you're probably going to become one of our number one referral sources because you're going to love what we do so much. So you actually have to have that conversation of authority and let them know that you're inviting them into your culture, that you're also inviting them into your community. And I think right now people are starving for connection. They want to be invited into the community. They want to be a part of something. They want to be a champion for someone or something, and they just don't know where to go or who to trust. So I believe that the selling is building the trust and delivering a service and rendering a good service and earning people's business the old fashioned way and being in connection with them. And I think that you can't overstate how important it is to have even the small community of a clinic and being able to be the trusted resource or the trusted advisor for that tribe. And then they're going to speak in volumes to the people in that community, to the people they work with, to the neighbors, to the sports teams, to their business colleagues. Like, it's a ripple effect when you do the right thing.
Well, and it's also teaching them how to refer. Most people have no idea or how to give a testimonial. When I ask my clients and people that come to my events to give a testimony, we give them instruction. Just don't say, "Oh, I love Gary. Gary's so great." And no, what was the benefit of you for you to being in that connection, whether it be a one-on-one or in an event? And when you do that, you're really showcasing that, the so that of going in, and it's more than just, oh, he's a good guy or a good lady. And when we do that, we're going to have that. Again, I call it organic, and it's sometimes we think it's going to take longer, but when people come from that standpoint, they have a tendency to stay with you longer, and they want to help support because they're a lot of times in the same mindset that you have, that you're wanting to help and serve, and they're in that mindset too, so they're wanting to help other people get the same benefit that they did. And so, but when we do that in a structured way, you're going to get a better benefit.
Yeah, I talk to my team all the time about how to nurture relationships and how to get people to say yes easy and how to get people to stay with us longer. I think there's a lot that goes into churn rate, but I think there's also a lot that goes into keeping people on for long term. And sometimes people get what they need with an allotted amount of time, and they kind of graduate themselves and they go on, which is also a cool thing. So we have to be considerate on both sides. Are we doing the right things to make sure that we're serving our community the right way? And are we wise enough to understand that some people just transition to the next thing?
Well, and it's also educating them that if you choose to be a speaker, that you do that. You do trainings, you do in services, you do this media, and you don't know who they know or what could come up in a. I don't look at any organization or experience. How many people do they have? Some of my biggest and best audiences have been the under 50 or the startups. It takes one. I was speaking at one event, and one of the largest PR firms was there in California where I was speaking, and they're from Washington, D.C. Within 30 days, they took me to PBS. And so you just never know. But if we don't let them know that we're available to speak and to do some of these other things, they will have no idea to be looking for it. We're planting little seeds that I call them little time bombs, that all of a sudden they're having a conversation. Oh, well, you need to know James. James does this really cool thing, and da, da, da. But if we didn't showcase and share that with them, they would have no idea.
Well, I think that that's a really important thing to bring up. I believe everybody that watches this and gets to this point in this interview, they should make a list of 5 to 10 people and make some interprofessional recommendations and connect people and see what that does for your friendships and see what that does for your business relationships and see what that does for theirs also. And I know that people that watch this show, they can definitely think of 5 to 10 people that they could build a resource connection with 5 to 10 other people and maybe help somebody's career take off, maybe help somebody with a desire that they've been looking for, and just know that you have the ability to make that happen would be pretty cool.
Well, it is. It's doing the right thing for the right thing. There's no agenda, no, quid pro quo. I speak for a living. It really is, building that synergy that you talked about, and it's amazing what happens out of that. You just never know. I mean, the reason I'm here was because I built a relationship with Jim Weathers, and he introduced us, and now I'm here. Who knows where this goes or whatever? But it's not about that. We're planting seeds.
Because he said that you need to know Gary. And I said, okay, well, do you think Gary would do a podcast with me? He said, I don't know. I'll connect you guys. So my framework of theory actually played out favorable to both of us, because now you're here. Now you get a chance to have a real life experience with me, and you can see what we're capable of together and the power that two people can be a part of. Now we can transform the whole perception of public speaking and getting chiropractic out to more people.
It's just giving people permission to risk. It really is about that, because we build up these stories that I'm not a good speaker. I think everybody that is listening to this interview, and for you, we've all heard some really terrible speakers that have been paid a lot of money to be a terrible speaker. I have no idea how they get those gigs. But the thing is that if you're the same off stage as on stage, if you're there to serve, people will seek you out as a speaker, because speaking is nothing more than having a conversation with one or more individuals. And so it doesn't matter if you're, on a large broadcast throughout the world, or if you're speaking to a small group of 5 people, it's all the same thing. And when we look at it that way, we're planting seeds.
Well, I've really enjoyed our conversation today on episode 683. We have to round out with a couple more topics here, and then we'll close out. Adventure, I know that's a major part of your life. Why have you made that a centerpiece into who your identity is?
For me, people think I'm an adrenaline junkie, and I'm not. I'm an adventure junkie. I have flown a World War II P-51 fighter. We did all the acrobatics. I'm a big airplane guy. I just flew in a Chinook helicopter, did all the weird things that pilot did. And so for me, it's the experience and the memory. And then a lot of times I'm able to use that in the description and giving other people permission to step into the things that they've always wanted to do. I'm a drummer. I'm a certified police officer. I'm weird. I'll figure out what I'm going to be when I grow up. But the thing I look for is what it is that stimulates me into a new arena. And there was a number of years ago that I had put a lot of these things off, and a family member came to me and they said, we don't want to hear about this anymore until you start doing something. And I went, oh, I had been postponing all these things. And I still had done a lot even before that, but I realized there was a whole lot more that I didn't. And so as I do these things, it just gives me other insights into who I am, what I do, and how I can share.
I think that's really amazing. A couple weekends ago, I jumped out of an airplane for my first time. And I'll tell you, those are going to be centerpiece conversations of my talks moving forward, giving people permission to have courage and having breakthroughs and things of that nature. So I think some of your things that you think are weird are definitely, they relate to more people than you would probably understand. And a lot of people just need somebody to connect with them and let them know, like, hey, I'm crazy too.
Well, what I say is, I am Mikey. I am the kid next door. And that just means that anything I have done and accomplished, you can. I'm nothing out of the ordinary. I'm just another human being that has made a decision to accomplish and to embrace certain things. And when that happens, I don't believe people need my permission, but they do. And when we give them that, it's an amazing connection. Now, I got a question for you. Did you get a video of your skydiving?
I did.
Okay. I'm going to encourage you to use that at your talks. That there's 3 types of ways that people take in information: auditory, visual, and kinesthetic. And when you create that movie of actually doing it, instead of just talking about it, that is an amazing connection with the audience.
I'll send it to you.
Oh,
And let's close out with your story of adversity and how you've overcome adversity in your life and how you got to where you are today.
well, in 1988, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. I was told I would be in a wheelchair or dead within 10 years. And I had one of the very first MRIs in the state of Colorado. It was in the back of an 18-wheeler tractor trailer. And I knew that if I had accepted that and built that into my identity, I've always said I was diagnosed with. I've never said I have. I've never owned the illness. Now, even though I had gone numb from the neck down, I had lost everything. And so they just said, go home, enjoy your kids. And I created a visualization out of that. That's where how a beaver saved my life, which is weird because you can see in the background here, eagles are my thing. But the thing is that I had to look at, could I change the prognosis of the person that is the doctor, the person with all the information? And without any guarantee, I knew if I believed in what they said, I would no longer be here. But I knew if I had changed that mindset, that I had the possibility of still being here. Now, it took over 9 months before I started getting any feelings back at all. I still have stone hands. I will trip and do other things. And so my body doesn't act, quote, normal like most people. But 30 plus years, 34 years later, I'm still here. Thanksgiving is the anniversary. It was on Thanksgiving weekend, midnight on that Saturday, that I had the MRI. And so 5 years later, a friend of mine said, you don't act normal, and wanted me to go back and get another MRI, which I did at the MS Center. And 95% of the lesions that were on the first MRI film were no longer there. They said, well, that's impossible. And you still have, and we want to see you every 6 months. And I've never been back. So the idea is that our reality is overrated. And while it's never a guarantee, it's something that, well, 6 months later, I was diagnosed with the second worst case of sleep apnea in the state of Colorado. They were afraid that I was going to die at any moment. But the first person at number one level died, so I got promoted. I always wanted to be number one in something. And so, but the thing is, these are just hiccups. They're not roadblocks. They're speed bumps. And so, what do we do? What is our reaction to the environment, to the stimulus that we have been given? Just like what I'm dealing with now. I am figuring out, I have been on stages. I've been dealing with this about 7 months, but I have been on multiple stages since then and had to eat my ego of using a cane. As my son, who is a chiropractor, said, it's better than falling down. And so, but the adversity is what gives us also a story where people see that you now have empathy, not sympathy. You have the ability to see through something that for a lot of people will take it as gospel, and they'll go to that end conclusion and give up. The best thing you can tell me is, I can't do something. I'm going to show you how I can. And it's just my personality. So what was my darkest days with that original diagnosis has become one of my biggest attributes. And it was weird because I didn't think anybody was going to want to know anything about that. And now it's the part of the signature story that everybody wants to hear.
Well, I believe I saved the best story for last. And Gary Barnes, I appreciate you being episode 683 of the Chiro Hustle Podcast. At this juncture, is there anything I didn't ask you that you'd like to share with our audience today?
Not really. What was coming to my mind at that moment was, please, anybody that is watching, listening to this podcast, please take that step into the unknown. Because one of my other Garyisms is launch and adjust, elevate and separate. Find out what your passion is, how you're different from, but go ahead and take the risk of whatever it is that you're afraid of. Fear is normal. And when we turn on the lights as little children, when we thought there was monsters under the bed in the closet and the parent would come in and turn on the light, they all disappeared. And this will happen for each and every one of you. Go out and serve. There's a lot of people that need you, want you. They just don't know you're there. So take the risk. The water's fine.
Well, Gary, thank you for being on with us today. If you want to learn more about Gary, go to GaryBarnesInternational.com. That's GaryBarnesInternational.com. Thank you so much. Have a great day out there in the Front Range. I'm out here in beautiful Grand Junction, and I hope to see you soon. And I close out like I do every time, Gary. I tell everybody in the audience, you're one story away. Keep hustling. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Bye for now. All right. Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.